Hello, everybody. If you can hear me out there, if you can see me out there, who is entering the stream, who's seeing this, especially on a recording, because imagine not everybody's going to enter the room right now. I certainly hope the volume is good for you. But if you do allow us a little bit of permission, we are in a special place, a special location, and we have some special guests here today. What this is about is I got all of the permissions from the lovely people here at Clear Path for Veterans, and you guys are going to hear more about that. But this today is Tell Your Story Live. And yeah, we have gentlemen saying he would tell us a story, but he doesn't remember. That's actually one of the volunteers here at Clear Path for Veterans. What we have today are two guests. I'm going to come in close to you right now because this is the microphone. But if you would, tell me your name, please.
Melissa.
Melissa?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on the show today, Melissa. All right. And if could have your name, sir?
Bill.
Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. And what we have today is veterans telling their story. In one other moment, if I may, I'm going to pan you guys around the room and give you guys a view from outside as well so that you guys can know where we are and what it is we're doing. Let's get these cords out. All right, so if we look around the room here, we're going to see Clear Path for Veterans. What we have is a weekly canteen where people are going to be, I believe this is actually her mom over here, who's quite honored. So I'm going to also show you guys the view, make sure this comes out clear, and it is. It's nice. Camera's picking it up just fine. So this is Clear Path for Veterans. It started with training dogs, and it just grew and grew. I'm going to try and be stable here as I pan you guys back around. And we're going to get started with the interview here soon. Let's put you guys back onto the stand, the computer, make sure everything is good to go. I will get out of the way here, and we're going to give you the microphone, Bill, with these headphones so that everybody can hear you. And you guys can really just talk naturally and ask him questions. Tell him what you like about his stories or what you want to know about his service. Go ahead, Melissa.
What's about the service? Your service.
What's that? Okay.
What's about the service?
Tell us about the service, Bill.
Okay, about the service. Okay, well, I went in during the Vietnam era, and I entered the Navy as a reservist, but then I did active duty as well, and I continued to extend and re-enlist that service until I had 24 years in as a military Navy reservist. And I was on several ships. My active duty was on a destroyer tender. My reserve duty, a lot of that was on a submarine tender. And then, of course, I was on various other smaller ships on training duties, so that I got a little bit of variety there. And it was during the Vietnam era. I didn't have to go over to Vietnam itself, but most of many of the other ships did. And we serviced those ships that went over there. Okay.
So what of that maybe you want to know more about? Say if you want to know about Vietnam or some of the places, what are some of the things it means to you?
Vietnam.
Vietnam?
Yes.
Do you can you tell us, say, what you think about when you hear Vietnam?
It's like a boy. It's like the bombs and stuff. The bombs on fire.
Yes.
It's like always commercials.
You know, those are actually some of the more important things. I mean,
Yeah.
you're right on with that. Is that it was a war with bombs, and there was a lot of planes over there as well. So, can you tell us what, by chance, do you know about some of the bombs that she was mentioning?
Well, I didn't have a hands-on with directly with those. Our ships did handle them. Many of the ships that we tended had missiles and other weapons on board that were some of them were even unknown what they could do and how many were on board or their range and all that. They were all designed so that they could fire upon a target from out to sea or in the waters. They didn't have to be on land to strike a target. And so, and it's part of the whole overall arsenal that our country has for defense, to defend from other countries or whatever from attacking us. They have a way of being able to be secretively here, there, and everywhere so that they can retaliate as necessary for protection and deterrence.
So it's definitely important that when you say war, that's a big part of it is to stay alive, to stay away from the enemy. And that's one of the important things about the planes. And you'll see the plane behind you, Melissa, B-17.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ones that would drop some of the bombs that you were talking about, not necessarily Vietnam, but more World War II.
Anyone. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
any other questions? And thank you, Melissa, for interviewing Bill today. Any other questions you have for Bill?
That's it.
That's
Okay.
it?
That's
All
fine.
right.
So, you were telling us some of the things. Tell us some of the people that you may know in the military.
I know my cousins about Jonathan and Aaron outside Marines. Right? Right?
Okay.
You know that?
I certainly do appreciate that. You're right. I'm trying
Yep.
to make sure that
Oh, sorry.
we can hear you.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're doing very, very good. You're doing awesome. You're loud. You're clear.
Yeah.
Was your grandfather or your father or any of your other relatives in the military?
My grandmother is the military, and is my cousin Jonathan and Aaron and the military.
Okay.
I certainly appreciate that information. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of what we have, and I also want to let everybody know that Melissa here was giving out cards to people, and I was one of the fortunate people to get one. You're very persistent, very good to make sure everybody gets one. Even though I was setting this up, you came and found me and made sure I got this, and I definitely want to appreciate it. That's us live.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah, that was a very, very good thing that you did there, giving this card.
Say again?
Can you buy this?
You can wear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try that. I hear it. I hear it.
Well, you're going to hear it through this.
I can hear you.
Well, that's good.
Wait a minute. I'm on the video.
You are. So, can you tell us about this card and the cards that you made for veterans, or who made them?
It's part of I made a card for the veterans.
Oh, you made them?
Yeah, it's like they need help for the boy.
So, that's awesome. You brought them here, and
Yeah.
your mom brought you here.
Yeah, so that
So,
that'd be cool.
do you know how many of these you made?
A lot.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah,
All right, so
this house is big.
they are big.
A little bit.
Awesome. So, is this your mom?
Yeah, it is. My name is Maybab Suez.
Is that your mom that's being somewhat shy, doesn't want to be on video? But you can certainly come on over if you'd like.
This is my mom. It's like
You can ride that in.
doing it.
So let's see if you are here. You're on the shot. I think we gotta.
Oh, this is.
This is my interview.
Look at that! You got the earphones on. It's like you're on a news station.
Yeah, we're under the news.
our producer
This is my
interview
mom.
today.
It's like it's about my good to the jail and you need help.
Right.
Well, let's tell them another
It
story.
is the veterans.
Let's tell them about
Wow.
who's in the military now.
My cousin Jonathan.
So we have a new. My dad
Sorry, sir.
was a Naval Academy grad.
And
He graduated
Aaron
in
too.
54,
Right.
and he was very
Sorry,
smart in math
we
and
were
sciences.
microphone. Hey,
He grew up in the Bronx.
oh, that I hear
So he
that.
went to the Naval Academy, and I have a poem. You want me to do the poem from the Naval Academy? I shared it with this table over here.
I don't know what poem
So
is.
when he graduated in 54, Chaplain Stretch from the Military Academy at West Point spoke at the graduation ceremony.
The allergies.
I'm going to say the poem, okay?
Melissa, would it be okay if we were to put the headphones on your mother? And you can actually listen to these. You
Sure.
can put these on. That way you can hear your mother.
We have,
Everybody else can hear your
we
mother
have,
as well.
we have new military too.
Put that in your right ear.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. And then we're gonna make sure your mother's on.
What's this?
So
Oh, on the news.
pretty much.
Well, okay.
So you'll be listening to your mother, and you can go ahead if you would tell everybody your story here from Clear Path for Veterans.
Okay.
Some of the family members you have in the military and their stories.
Well, first of all, it's been a real pleasure
What's that?
hooking in with ClearPath. We did so because we have a dog, and we lost a dog last year, and so we brought our 10-year-old
that.
Texas
Amazing.
healer to your trainings, and as civilians, we paid for those sessions, but happily so because all the money benefits ClearPath. We do have some connections to military. My own dad was a Naval Academy grad in 54. He was gifted in math and sciences, and he graduated. I want to share a poem that was spoken at his graduation ceremony. Thank you.
Where does always with family?
Yes. At his graduation, the West Point Military Academy Chaplain Stretch recited this to everyone. It shouldn't seem strange that beggars and kings and clowns that play in circus rings and even people like you and me are the makers of human destiny. For each is given a book of rules, a block of stone, and a bag of tools, and each must carve before day has flown a stumbling block or a stepping stone. May all your days be stepping stones. And my dad wrote that in my kids' books all the time, and that was delivered right at his 54 graduation.
You know, one of the great things about that is that even though I didn't just remember that, I don't know if you remembered it or not, but we are actually able to capture this. We're able to capture the story and be able to play back. And it would be really nice that, you know, and your daughter, I tell you, she absolutely loves it. She's stealing the show. She enjoys it.
She does.
But, you know what, I'll be able to share the channel with you so that you can later on hear yourself and see your daughter and how well she did with interviewing Bill. And she brought up some of the very important things about Vietnam. I was quite impressed that, you know, she hit the key points about it. And it was nice that we had this plane behind us, the B-17, to show in person, you know, what some of the planes were that were dropping out some of the bombs in Vietnam. So, and everybody has a story to tell. The loved ones that support us. You know, I was married and went overseas, and my wife was at Fort Bragg when the days that I was over there. So, back to you though. Anything else you'd like to share? More stories? Who are some of the members that Melissa was talking about that are in the military now?
2 nephews, my nephews, and one just got assigned first assignment for Marines, Lithuania, the embassy.
Oh, wow.
So he's probably on his way there right now. Just got the text message yesterday. And his brother, younger brother, is in Paris Island training for the Marines. And the third brother is on deck. So he may be going into the Marines reserves.
So do they have, now was that was all one family?
It's all one family.
Oh, wow. Is there more siblings?
Nope, just 3 boys.
All 3 of them?
All 3 boys.
Oh, that is special. That is something awesome.
Yes, they are. And then my son's not in the military, but he works for Pagula Sports and Entertainment. And when he first started working for them and was being paid for by the hour and not the salary rate at this point, he he was the usher for the military going to the Sabres games and to welcome them, to the arena. And so there's a, very due respect, for the military.
We definitely all try and do our part one way or another, and that's what it is. Make sure people can hear me. It was quite amazing how many people think that they don't have a story. I even heard someone say, "I only served 3 years and I don't have a story."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, really, it's humble, but at the same time, we got to let people know how much their story is, how much people do want to hear about what they did.
Well, here's a story. Here's another story. So my dad, as I mentioned, was a Naval Academy grad. He didn't make the military his career. And just so happens that I have two younger brothers. And one brother went into the Air Force. And he is the father of the 3 boys that are now, one's contemplating joining and the other 2 are now Marines. Or one's almost a Marine in Parris Island. But anyway, it just so happens that my brother, who was in the Air Force, suffered from a mental illness, and that really showed up when he tried to go through training.
Right.
But it's interesting that he could produce
Right.
3 young men that are like of Marine quality, so it,
For sure.
so
I'm gonna see
you serve.
if you could keep telling.
More story.
Well, tell us actually about what it's like when the gentlemen were going through basic training or boot camp.
When my nephew John went through boot camp, it's interesting that nowadays you can get videos to see what they're going through. And while I wasn't privy to all of them, it was quite interesting, Melissa's reaction to when they do the gas chamber, the gas segment. And my nephew was the twin of the one going through the training, immediately identified. And while you want to kind of laugh at what's going through, you realize what they're really going through. So I know that when my nephew John was finishing up his training and ready to get his Golden Eagle, he stated that they were all in tears. They knew they were about ready to get it because they had made it through that final training, which I'm forgetting what it's called again. You would know what it is. That intense 48-hour or 52-hour training.
Yeah, I forget the name of the time now.
It was more than a marathon.
Yeah.
It was survival to the max.
All the survival things.
Blows away survival shows on TV.
Yeah, it does.
So,
Sorry.
he made it through that, and he was really happy he got his golden eagle.
Sorry.
Yes.
Can I get car books over there?
You can get coloring books. So, do you have a story too you want to tell me?
Well, like you said, you don't really think you're having a story. There's a lot of things that you think about. You don't really recall that they're a story. But I guess one story that I remember well, and it's not for me so much as my uncle, was during World War II. He was not in the military per se, but he was a civilian engineer with Bendix Corporation. He was a big builder and components for airplanes and stuff. And he was on the Old-Nagay 2 days before the bombing, and was on board to tweak carburetors for a faster getaway for that aircraft when they did the bombing. And he wasn't on it when it did the bombing, but he was on there 2 days earlier. So he knew Admiral Tibbets and all those, the flight crew and all that. And of course, he was on the tarmac when they did do the bombing mission. So, that to me, that was, even though he wasn't in the military, he might as well have been. But
That's right.
it was quite a story that he was involved in that actual mission.
Well, if you take a visit down to Pensacola, which is why I put my dad's wings on for when I was going through the museum, the planes down there,
Yes.
and the
I've been through that,
refurbished,
yeah.
they're amazing.
I was in that museum, and of course the Smithsonian also over there by the Dulles Airport. And that's where the actual Olna Gate is. And of course, my uncle also, another thing that he had was he had one of the only colored photographs of that crew when they come off that mission. And back then, colored film was not that prevalent. And he had that and retained it until the 80s and gave it to the Smithsonian.
Let's switch up with this. I'll actually put this right here so that the mic can be, say, in between you guys.
Yeah. It's
And
really
if you
cool.
would, say, come on over, and then
Where's my friend? She's probably down with the dogs. So I have to tell you, my dad in the 70s, he witnessed his college roommate, Edward Martin, Naval Academy, come off the planes when they got the prisoners of war. Come off, and you saw my dad was a statuesque, almost 6'3" gentleman, and to see a grown man have tears in his eyes. This was back in the day where you had to pull the curtains to see the TV screen, you know, and because there was glare on it. And so he saw his friend come off, and interestingly, 30 years later, my dad was passing, and I was taking care of him at home. And I took a run back home to my young kids, and I get a phone call from someone who gave all his titles and then said Edward Martin, and my heart just was like, there's like a brotherhood there. They all had hooked up through internet and knew that my dad was, you know, really sick, and sent tons of support. They sent me pictures that I had never seen, and Edward Martin said, I'd like to speak with your dad, and I reiterated to him the story of my dad with the tears, seeing him come off the plane, and he said if I needed anything, then I could, you know, I could certainly call him at any time. He called my father up, and my father was going like this the whole time. Like, he was hooked in with those buddies. Very, very much so. And that meant the world to me. I didn't grow up as a military, in a military family,
Right.
but I might as well have, because he instilled in me those values.
And I can tell you that just as people are so close with their own buddies, and there's a gentleman that tells me, you know, once his buddies say come through town, if they're coming through, then they'll stop in and say hello and have a coffee like nothing's changed. But then there's also the instant camaraderie with other military veterans. It lasts. It's always going to be there. I also want to tell you guys, it's a pleasure, and one of the reasons I come, and I'm going to turn the camera around here to see just this gentleman's hat right over here. Sorry about this, but you know, when you see something like Patton's Army on a hat of a gentleman, you know it's an honor. Hello, how are
And
you?
he has a great poem he could recite to you, too.
Would you like to say come and sit down and talk to us for a couple of few?
I didn't know if you were doing something.
Definitely, come on in, and
You're a
we'll
fan this hour.
keep this mic close.
Okay.
If you would, tell everybody your name.
Hi, Staff Sergeant Richard Rodriguez, disabled veteran, retired. And I'm waiting for him, or?
No, go ahead. Please keep going. This is something I brought to share with everybody.
Oh, it looks great, doesn't it?
What is it? Oh, it's the airplane.
Yes, the airplane.
This is a flying plane where I can control it.
Wow.
One day I'm actually going to fly it right around here. It's free to fly.
Yeah, he's gonna fly the plane over here.
How heavy is it?
So, what's the wingspan? The wingspan is big enough where I can't fit it inside my van.
Yeah, this was the other one that I wanted. This is upcoming events. It needs to be updated, but it's going to give you reoccurring and stuff like that. All right.
What's the website?
It's clearpathforvets.com.
Okay. Do you have your card?
I do, but I got to get you another one I wrote on this one.
Okay.
I was looking at the World War II newspapers, right? From this country. I was in England during World War II. I grew up in England. And I got all my papers from my hometown when we got found. Yeah. And my father was in the Royal Air Force, and he was shot down over Germany, and he's buried in Germany. They were captured by the Nazis and executed and put in sand pits, and they were Canadian. My father washed up and is buried in Germany, but they still didn't find the Canadian. He's still missing in action from 1943.
We're just gonna have me have the headphones on, so that way the people that are listening now, they can hear what it is that I'm saying. So this plane right here, you guys can actually feel it because you're asking the weight. So it's pretty strong. You can grab it there. You can just kind of pick up the weight from there. It isn't bad at all. I'll show you, gentlemen, where
About 5 or 6 pounds.
this is actually where the batteries go. They connect one to here and one to here. It does fly. So we have not only the control surfaces on the wings, which is the ailerons, but we also have flaps here. So the flaps help it. I wish I were technically able to build this plane. The only thing I did was put it together really well. I made sure that everything was glued very strongly. I don't take this plane apart when I put it in my van to take it to fly somewhere, and that helps out when I do fly it because it's very stable. I mean, I can actually take this wing and shake it, and you can see how stable it is. And the little bit of extra weight from the glue, it's okay because this plane does have plenty of power. I can fly it for about 5 minutes, but I can control it very well about where it is I fly. And believe it or not, one day I'm going to fly it right out here. I'm going to fly it for you, gentlemen. You'll be able to see it, and I'm going to stream it live on this TV at the same time.
Are you going to put a camera on it for an aerial view?
I am going to put a camera on it, and I'm going to have it streaming in here, so that way you gentlemen will be able to see it not only flying live, or you can see on the TV screen at the same time. So, and then we also have the rudder here, and then the elevator. And you can see where the servos are to control the rudder. I'll just be very careful so I don't harm anything there. But yeah. Yeah, here's a pilot. Light airplane, single engine. Oh, commercial license, very nice. Would you, by chance, want to say anything to the camera? No? Can I just tell everybody that I noticed your Patton's Third Army and what it is, and an honor to even see that on you, and I certainly appreciate it, and I appreciate your service. So yeah, this B-17, I've got about 12 flights on it now, and I'm trying to keep practicing. But one of the things I say is, you know, if you gentlemen see this plane fly for even 1 minute, and then I crash it and I can rebuild it, then it's worth it to me. You know what I mean? I'd love to also show you guys a landing as well.
We all like toys.
We all do love toys. Well,
Right here. How far, much distance do you need for takeoff?
for takeoff and landing, how much distance I need. If there's a lot of wind blowing towards it, it'll almost lift the plane up by itself. So therefore I have, like say, maybe 50 feet that I need to take the plane off. If there's not as much wind, then I can also use the flaps down here, and I'll have to turn the motors on even higher, but then it'll take maybe 100 feet. And so one of the things that I'm thinking about down here,
No, seriously, that was going to be my next question.
for sure.
Can it be like a glider?
So if it is that I turn the motors off, I will say glide, but I'm only going to have so much energy, and then I need to Right. So like if the batteries are dead, then I need to find a place right away and not say stall. Do you guys happen to know what a stall is? Oh, of course, you know what you're a pilot. You stalled one?
Well, obviously you walked away from it.
Right.
He landed in a cornfield.
Right.
I was always, you were high.
Oh, it's high enough? Exactly. That's what I mean. So like say if I'm high enough and I want to turn it off, then I may want to bleed the speed to make sure that I can go low enough and not too fast so that where it is that I want to land, I'm good. And one of the things out here, and not everybody can see it, but I'll take this camera, just point it around a little bit, is I'm going to be landing, flying around this cliff, and I'm actually going to be trying to land right over here, if you guys can see, in this area down below. So that's actually a golf course that I'm going to have to say, I scoped it out one time before to see if it's big enough and flat enough to land, and it is. And so what I'm thinking about is taking off from down there, flying, and then landing it back there.
Yeah, well, you have the road.
I have the road, yes.
Looks like you got a good stretch of maybe 50 to 100 feet.
For sure.
You just close it off when you're doing the landing. You've only got 5 minutes of flying.
Yep. And so one of the things that's interesting is that I may actually hand off control to someone else. There's an F-16 pilot in the area, and he also flies the drones. And one person takes it off and then gives him control. So that's actually one of the things that we may do here is I can take off from down there because it's easier to be close, and then give the control to him, and then when he flies it back towards me, I'll take control. Well, for sure. All right. Maybe a smaller plane.
Yeah, there's only about, you've got a little drone.
Oh, you got a drone?
Yeah.
Ah, you're my.
I got crashed 3 of them trying to learn how to.
You crashed
fly
3?
Yeah. I haven't flown them since. It's so frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Learning that, but I'm looking at.
Well, you got to get buddies.
Grandson that flies it all over.
12-year-old grandson that can fly them.
I'm just trying to work it.
You went to the RC store and flew it there?
I didn't fly it. All of a sudden I was in the store and
Oh.
all of a sudden something flew over my head.
Oh, something flew over your head. You weren't flying it there.
The guy down there, I said, "What the heck?" And then I saw the drone go down. And the guy caught it midair.
Right? The guy caught it midair?
I got a buddy down that flew one.
Yeah?
We took him to lunch one day. We gotta go. Thank you.
See you later, sir. Did you want to come over and by chance tell your story? I can even put these headphones on and you can say talk to the audience and all of that. And then take a seat, yeah?
What is it? You built that?
So I'm not skilled enough to say build this, but I did put it together. We actually have a manufacturer, Motion RC, where I buy some planes from. And I put it together. I put it together very carefully. It took me a while because I was scared to fly and I wanted to build my skills because it's so precious of an airplane. I didn't want to, say crash it. But once I glued it together, I was good to go. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Put this a little bit over. And you were telling me, let me actually get your name and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
For sure. So you were telling me you have a buddy that's a pilot. What was it that he?
Well, we took him to lunch because he was 95 years old.
Right.
And he was kind of blind.
Okay.
So he ordered a hamburger, and he'd take the hamburger and he'd stick it in his cheek. And I had a stack of napkins because they knew us.
Right.
And so I'd wipe off his face. And I had just got done reading a trilogy on, trying to think of the guy who wrote it. He's a very famous writer. He wrote North Africa, Italy, and Normandy. And I just got done with the Normandy. And I said to him, hey, you'll be good.
See you next time, guys. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so I said, it's the best book I've read on Normandy.
Right.
And he goes, let's see now. I said, boy, I said, those guys had a tough time. That's what set him off.
Sure.
He put his hamburger down. He goes, I knew they were having a tough time. I could see it. Everybody at the table. There's about 6 guys.
Now, when you say, and I want to back up and get your name, if you don't mind sharing it to the camera, let people know. What was your name, sir? What was your name, sir?
Lyndon Clark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Lyndon.
Yeah.
Josh Weaver. So, you're saying that your buddy was a pilot during World War II?
Yes. He was a B-17 pilot, but nobody knew it.
Oh, wow.
Nobody knew it. So when he said, I knew they're having trouble because I could see them.
Right.
And all of a sudden, everybody stopped eating. And he said, I was watching them. So I started to ask him questions. I said, why? I was in the infantry in Vietnam. Didn't you bomb that beach going east and west? He says, that's a good question. I said, because in Vietnam, when we got into some heavy firefighting, we'd use our helmets as a shovel and, dig down and make a line. But anyways, he says, my flight commander told me, he says, either you open your bomb bay doors when I open my bomb bay doors, and you drop your bombs when I drop my bombs. And he said to me, he says, we only bombed people 10 miles inland. We only killed civilians. And then he went back, got reloaded, and he went down to the peninsula there, the Karatin Peninsula, and he bombed that. So he made 2 trips. So I says, well, isn't it that you make 21 trips and you get to go home? He looked at me and he says, Lyndon, he goes, I made 31 trips, and the last one was the ball bearing plant. He says, they were trying to kill us. He took his men, there's 10 or 11 guys on a ship, B-17, and he took 10 square feet, and each guy counted the holes in that 10 square feet. There were 414 holes in there.
I'll keep this private, but I'll get in touch with you. So I just want to show you guys the front of this, one of the things that he helps people out with. We'll get a hold of him more later on. So yeah. Yeah, go ahead. You want to show off? Let me move this thing out of the way.
But I do read, but I want to review. I just won the national award
You won a national award
for poetry. That's
for poetry?
right there. Yes, I just came back from the national award.
Wow.
Okay.
It's important stuff. Thank you for coming. And
I wanted to do some stuff with you. But
yeah,
I know it's.
Thank you.
It's definitely you want.
for sure.
Did he do his poll?
I don't know.
I didn't get a chance, but that's fine.
Next time, and I got your information.
You got my information if you want to do a live video.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Right, next time we'll talk about integrity.
We'll talk about integrity. I don't know why you're saying that, but I hope it's for a good reason.
Oh, Edward Martin, that Navy guy I was telling you about.
Yeah.
When
Oh,
I found out he passed, and my heart was.
Edward Martin passed.
And I never spoke with his wife, but they let me through. I didn't know it was like a year after.
Right.
They put me through to his wife.
You-
and I shared the story about my father and him.
After he passed, then you were able to talk to his wife.
Yeah,
Right.
and so what I sent to my kids was his obit saying this was integrity.
Right. Definitely. And that's the thing is, you know, it's good to share these stories, even of Edward Martin and his integrity. You know, and if we can capture some of these, even if it's say third person, these are awesome. So, and again, thank you for your daughter helping out. Sounds great.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye.
Oi, boy.
Yeah. I was washing dishes.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. And thank you for the card, Melissa. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Uh-oh.
We got
Don't
one.
touch it. Don't touch it.
Yep.
No, we'll get a broom.
Don't touch though.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Melissa, come on over here. So let's go back to your. What was the pilot's name that you were talking about that flew the B-17?
His name was Turkey Taylor, and the reason it was Turkey Taylor, he owned a turkey farm,
Yeah.
and he grew turkeys in Cazenovia.
Okay.
So they always called him Turkey Taylor. I don't know what his first name was, but I knew him. You know, he'd been around town for years. Real good guy.
And so it was in Cazenovia here, Cazenovia, New York.
Yes.
It's quite interesting that there's a B-17 pilot. So now, is he by chance still around?
No,
Okay.
no, he passed away probably a couple years ago.
Right. So did he do 31 missions altogether?
31 missions.
Nice.
414 holes in that plane.
414 holes.
Yes.
On the last mission.
The last mission, he had a piece of shrapnel the size of a bread plate come through the dashboard, hit him in the chest, and knocked him out cold. And the assistant pilot, co-pilot, had to fly the plane back to
Oh, wow.
England.
So he was knocked out the whole time.
Oh, yeah, he was, going back
Right.
is when they got him.
Yeah, those ball bearing plants, they were awfully important.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Good target to hit.
yeah.
All right, so let's check in on this stream. I need to see here if we have any questions. So this is live, and there's people say talking now. So let's see. So we got the Fred Barron RC. He has, I believe, somewhere around 170 planes that are, say, remote control planes like this that he flies, all different models. And these guys, they inspire me to fly some of these planes because this is, you know, something that's pretty precious.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a good bit of skill. And when I do fly it, sometimes it's like it's easy, but you don't know what it is you know. It's not something you just do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a lot. Then we got Victor Shamulis here. He's saying, my father was in the Marines. His boot camp was here in Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California. Victor Shamulis, he flies a lot of the jets.
Oh, wow.
So he's flying jets almost every day and posting videos of them. He's got a parking lot that he takes off with fellow pilots. And I don't know if you know anything about remote control airplanes, but say the electric motors just like this, they can put them in an electric ducted fan, just like a jet motor, just like a jet engine. And that's some of the things he flies around.
Huh.
He's pretty skilled, too skilled. He doesn't crash his planes that often,
Yeah.
and that's why his hangars grow into be so big as well.
That's cool. Well, I got something I'm going to give you. It's a half-an-hour firefight in Vietnam, and I got a disc out in my car.
Oh, yeah?
I'll give you that, and you take a look at it, listen to that.
I bet it would be quite amazing for me to hear it. You know, I sort of feel like what I've done is light, and some of the other gentlemen, what they've been through, like say on the beaches, is very heavy and difficult. But yet they think that what I went through was difficult. It's back and forth, but we have to try hard to get into the mindset of, you know, our fellow veterans to see, you know, what it is they actually went through. And I think what it winds up being is we just take it one day at a time. We can't think about the fear, or else it's just going to paralyze us. We just go.
Yeah.
So we got John Nunes, Airborne RC. I really definitely appreciate being airborne in his name, because I was airborne myself. So I was jumping out of a lot of planes. We even dropped equipment into Afghanistan to do to do some operations there. So, and this is my sister. She was commenting on the size of a dinner plate hitting the guy in the chest. Must be something quite large, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then Victor's commenting, mostly flies jets. Victor, do you have any jets that are, say, scale? What are some of the military jets you have? I know he flies a lot of sport jets, and what I learned about sport jets is they don't exactly depict the military jets, like, say, the F-35 or the F-16, but I'm sure he has some that are military as well, so we'll see what he comments back. John Nunes says he's out, got to go to a meeting. Hello, Mr. Wild Bill. Nice to see you here. It's my sister.
So these are people listening in on this. How are you doing this? See, this is way over my head.
So what this is doing is it is streaming live to YouTube. And so this is my channel that I'm listening in on. And one of the reasons I'm listening or say watching is for the comments, and then the other is so that I can make sure everybody can hear.
Okay.
So I can hear what it is they hear live, so that we know they're hearing us clearly. And they're in this room in my channel, able to comment here. And this gentleman, Brian Chambers, says hats off. So salute to you, Brian Chambers. Thank you very much. Thank you for stopping in.
That's
Wild
cool.
Bill, thank you for your service. You know, it's many others as well. And that's one of the great things about coming to this place, Clear Path for Veterans Wednesday Canteen, because we're able to see a lot of veterans that served. You know, I mean, to see 1st Infantry Division, to me, it's like, say, another patch in the Army. But when you get out, that's when you start thinking, you know, I was a part of something larger. And I want to know what I was a part of. Even though I was just doing my left, right, I was a part of something larger.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So Victor Shamulis, he let us know some of the planes that he flies. He's got the MiG-21, the F-4. Well, you can read them out. Can you see those?
No, I can't.
I'll read them out. So the MiG-21, the F-4, F-16, F-22. Now that F-22, I'm thinking about, I know Vic, he's got probably a 6S, which means it's a very powerful lithium-ion battery, lithium polymer, and the motor in it is 90 millimeter. So he's got a big honking motor, basically a jet, except it's electric ducted fan because it's an electric motor that's pushing that plane. And I wouldn't be surprised if that F-22 or a lot of his planes do 100 miles an hour. And I know some of them do, well over. You know, it's quite impressive. So then he's also showing off, he's got the airliner. That's the newest plane out there.
Oh, really?
It's a civilian airplane with 2 electric ducted fans out on the wing. And he's applying his decals to make it look better. A lot of people like to ask me if I built this. You know, I actually don't even, all the planes say from American side at certain times, and he scales them out, all the details. And then he's got, say, some German planes, some British planes, and he's got the zeros. It's amazing what these guys put their effort into to make these planes look good. And then obviously just for fun and for looks, the airlines. But to me, this hobby, I'm learning about a lot of these planes.
Yes.
I'm learning about pilots that flew B-17s in World War II from this channel, from this hobby. So, Mike Corinne says, yes, thank you all for your services. It's our honor, Corinne. It really is. And we flew with a lot of other people. We served with a lot of other people. Now we fly with a lot of other people. Wild Bill says he loves building. It's as much fun as flying. So some of these pilots, or some of these builders, they've put together these models that are just huge and impressive and very detailed. And they spend so much time building that they don't fly. They let someone else fly their plane for them. But that's all good. Some people are very good at flying. Like Vic. You know, I could probably give him any one of my jets and say, fly it. And he'll put it down on its wheels.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll read through some of the other comments. It looks pretty sketchy, Josh. I'm not sure what Fred Barron meant by that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing at that time. Oh, he says SSG. So that was probably the staff sergeant that was here. Let me see his name. I know we put it on here. Ex-Sarge. Oh, ex-Sarge. That's his email address. I won't tell you where. Oh, GB saying I'm pretty quiet. There was definitely a lot of atmosphere going on here in this place. So that's why one of the reasons why I had the headphones, so that the person's talking can say, you know, and this is definitely the first time for this, but we're going to try and do this more to get more stories for more people, you know what I mean?
Yes, because they're going fast.
He says, a Navy guy. I'm just kidding. Like I did with my World War II Navy officer stepfather. Thanks for his and all your service to the country. That's from Fred Barron, RC. And you can obviously tell there's something with his name, right?
Right.
What did Bill like about the Navy, Josh? Oh, that was we may be going back to the beginning. Yeah, when Bill was here. Bill was our first interview. It was definitely a privilege to have him on here, you know, to say step up to that. And then Shadow Ops here. He was actually in the military as well, in the Army. You know, one of the things that he flew was a drone. So he was flying and controlling it from his station so that he could give other people eyes and intelligence on the ground. So that's why he was in essentially intelligence within the military and the Army. Fred Barron sitting on vacation. What are you getting built, Fred? What are you doing? I know he's doing something with RC, flying or building. And here's Bill again. Victor says, I do like my Newport 17 BF 109 too. So that's,
wow.
You know what the BF 109 is?
No.
Okay, so that is a German airplane. If you could almost picture the Mustang, it's similar to that.
Yes, I do know that. I've seen it on TV. Yeah.
So actually, while we're here, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your story as well? I know you told us about someone else's, and I'm definitely appreciative if we capture that, but don't be too humble. Tell us about yourself and some of your service as much as you want.
I've got drafted in 1966. Went through the schools. They wanted to send me to West Point, and I figured out, I said, let me think here now. Now, this is with a colonel with his arm around my shoulder, and he wanted an answer right then and there. So I'm thinking to myself, I says, let's see now, I got to go to school for 1 year to bring up my grades. Then I got to go to West Point for 4 years. Then I owe him 5 years. Well, a 19-year-old kid at that time That's a lot of time.
That's a lot of years.
So I opted out of that, and I volunteered for Vietnam, went over there, and went through the Tet Offensive.
Thank you.
And we almost got overrun. We're very lucky. We'd gone out on patrol that day, and that night we were having a few beers because we had the day off the next day. And I had a buddy come up to me. His name was Leroy Schmeely, and he was from Philadelphia. And he said to me, he says, they're coming tonight. I'm half in a bag, and I'm throwing this football around, and we're having a good time. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, we're going to get attacked tonight. So he says, let's go out on the perimeter. We'll at least sleep on the perimeter. Okay. So I got an old chaise lounge out, dragged it out there, and my flak jacket and rifle and ammo. And we had M14s because they were having all kinds of trouble with the M16s. So I got in my little hammock type thing there, my, what do you call that, sleep in. I fell asleep immediately, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, they hit us with everything they had. There were 500 North Vietnamese regulars across the, Highway 1. We were on the other side of Highway 1. And what they were waiting for was they wanted 10 salvos of 10 rockets to hit us. And after that 10th salvo, they were going to make a mass charge across the street. And what had happened is some of the guys that we were playing football with had a 105 with them. And they immediately got on that. There was a guy up at a tower who spotted where they were firing from and gave them the coordinates and knocked them out after 60 rounds. And you could hear them over there. Now, there's only Leroy and I on this line. But you could hear them talking over there. They didn't know what to do. So somebody must have said something. But by that time, everybody from our hooches were in their trenches. And they were ready for them. And as they came across the road, we just mowed them down. And then we had to bury them because after about a week, they started to stink.
Right.
And we put them in deuce and a halves, and we dug a huge hole with a bulldozer and dumped them in that hole. I had a couple pictures of me backing the truck up. My mother told me, don't you ever send any pictures back like that again.
Right, yeah.
And they were gone.
It's amazing what, we find as normal. And then when you're not in it, it's like, whoa, that's a different world over there.
It is. Any type of war. And it's sad. It really is. Because, even now I think of their families.
Yeah.
And the enemy's families. And it's very sad.
It is, and when I was in Afghanistan, I definitely kept my wits about me, and I was always with the weapon at the ready, locked, not locked and loaded, but ready to go.
Right.
But I also got to know, I was lucky that we had the Afghan National Army working with us, and they were on our post. So at least I got to know what the locals were like through the Army. And I even got to had them teach me their language. There was one guy I was really good friends with. He was pretty cool, quite talented. And he caught a pigeon. One day we're on lookout, me and him, in our sandbag hut.
Yeah.
And he just goes so slow and carefully, he catches this pigeon. And he ties a rope around its leg. And so for that shift, we had a pet pigeon.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is their families, and you know I like to hear the stories about the respect from the fellow pilots. You know the German Bf 109s, maybe it was,
Yeah.
or the Focke-Wulf 110, I believe it is. That you know they came up on a B-17 pilot, a plane that was so wounded they're wondering how the thing flew, and they escorted the plane out of country. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
like you were saying with your friend who had, what was it, 410, 419 holes in the plane?
414.
414. You know, it's like, I don't want to be shot once, but yet they get shot at 414, and luckily they made it home, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Not everybody did, but, you know, the other thing is it's through whatever it happens, it's us or them. And, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you had to. I've fired that. That was the first time I had gotten into some heavy firefight. And I don't know how many rounds I put downfield, but I grabbed the barrel with my right hand. And I'm not going to say you could hear the sizzling, but boy, when I looked at that hand was twice the size. I said, that hurt.
So were you? Your adrenaline was going, and you were
it is
a firefight. But did you feel it right away, or were you?
You know, it's like a football player. They practice for 6 months, and then they play around 10, 11 games. And you've practiced so much that it's all common sense, I guess.
Muscle memory, reaction.
The only thing that happened that was funny, that I took my magazines. I forget how many magazines we carried, but I threw them out of the foxhole, and they came along and they dumped ammo boxes in the trenches. And I says, oh my God, I threw all my ammo clips away. So I had to get out, pitch black. At that time I was wearing glasses. I lost them. And I'm feeling around on the ground for these empty magazines. And I finally get them all. And I found my glasses. I started laughing. And Leroy says, what are you laughing at? I said, Leroy, we both got flat feet. We both wear glasses. What are we doing on the front line? And it's a funny thing, the stress that comes out of you. And yeah. I gotta say, anybody who's been in heavy combat, you almost get giddy.
Yeah, you do.
And you laugh, and
that's actually some of my greatest memories over there.
Yeah,
is the buddies when, you know, some people would think we'd be shivering, quaking. You know, we're joking, laughing, enjoying ourselves. Maybe it's just something that happens. Maybe it's something our mind says, you might want to start laughing now.
Yes.
I definitely enjoyed it. Those are some of the greater memories over there. It's the buddies and the different things we did. We would get a clip and do some crazy things. Some things I don't want to say on film.
You know, the one thing that I regret is not keeping in touch with my unit, our squad. We were pretty close, and I just hope they had a good life.
Yeah.
I really do.
It's all kinds. You never know, you know, and I think the military shapes people a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time, the people shape the military. You know, they bring their, say, life of what they were back into it. So I got a question here, actually, from my sister. She's saying, do you guys still have memories that come to mind often of the things that you have been through? So say you're Vietnam and I'm Afghanistan, so we can both answer this question from different ways. But any memories that come to your mind often?
Now, another story I got to tell you is the difference between now and the Vietnam era. When I came home, I ended up going to Kent State University.
Okay.
I'm in a psych class with about 300 18-year-olds, and I'm 24 years old at the time. And the professor said something, started to bring up Vietnam, started talking about it, and I said, well, you know, there's another way to look at this thing. You got a communist nation going after democracy. I don't think that's right. This little pimply-faced 18-year-old stood up and spit in my face, and they clapped. You know, you sit there and I love to rap them. I wanted to punch them so bad. But, you know, I learned right then and there, I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah.
Now, today, I'm down on in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. But I wear this hat a lot, and I get a lot of comments. But this little kid was about 6 years old. And he came up to me and shook my hand.
It's amazing a 6-year-old even, you know, knows the importance of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, he did. His parents taught him right. He had a brother, too, and his brother ran over after that and shook my hand and thanked me.
It is nice, and it's amazing that, say, us, Afghanistan and Iraq veterans of this generation, and, you know, all the appreciation we have for how people are treating us on our return. And some of the Vietnam veterans, they say, you know, well, even though, and I'm not going to say bitter is the right word, but it's bittersweet, you know, because it's that, you know, at least they see us, you know, getting treated right. And they also actually thank us for now making the U.S. or let's say assisting the U.S. to then reappreciate Vietnam veterans. You know, we're still veterans, no matter what war it was. You know, we had Melissa on here earlier, and she said, you know, it was war. They were dropping bombs. And that's what the soldiers were going through, you know. It's war. It's not anything. That's it. That's all. It's war. We went through war, you know, whether it was for this reason or that reason. But I tell you, one of the things for me that made it easy, and, you know, say I was airborne and Army, and I also had September 11th. So, you know, I volunteered, and I volunteered to be airborne as well. But at least I had that mission. You know, I can't imagine what it's like to be drafted. You know, you don't have a choice. You serve honorably, you know, but then to come home and not be appreciated, you know, it's like your country called on you, you answered the call.
Yeah.
You know, so I got the same thing when I went back into college, because I left college to go in the Army. Because I thought Afghanistan was going to be quick, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to get out of college and get over there.
Yes.
And then, it turns out I could have waited, but either way, I got over there and I got onto the border. You know, I spent some time over there, and my mission was to help assist to get Osama bin Laden. You know, if it were that I were the one pulling the shot, hey, I would have done that. You know, if it were that I could do nothing else but flip a patty to feed someone else as they were doing that, that's fine. You know, we all have our part to play. So, you know, I'm glad I got over there. Then I went back into college. And it was in this class where you could just tell. You know, you could just tell that, okay, if I say something, things are going to be different. And it was funny that it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
To you know, to fight with them or whatever else, because we have our own comfort that's internal to us, you know.
We know we did right.
Yep, definitely, we do. And so, and G.B. Linden saying his dad got spit on too. That's what it is. And I tell you, these people, they really appreciate the veterans, the stories here, and they appreciate us, you guys, and the World War II and World War One through some of the planes that we fly. I mean, this is not just something for fun, but there's also meaning behind it. You know, this is lovely to be able to fly these things in honor and to keep that heritage alive.
Yes.
But yeah, it was my one story that I have is this one, not the professor, but the assistant, and they graded this one paper of mine, and they wanted to say that it was a run-on sentence. And I'm like, you know, when it makes sense and it goes several lines, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's one complete thought. I can connect the thoughts.
Yes.
You know, but this one other thing that they didn't like was the story they told us, and they wanted our reaction. And I said, well, you guys you went straight to the emotion. You tugged at the heartstrings to try and get the reaction out of people. And they didn't like that. They're like, no, we're just telling the facts. No, you told it in a pretty emotional way to try and get people to convince.
Yes.
And I'm like, just, you know, be honest with what you do and how you do it. That's all. But other than that, I was actually an engineer, so I didn't deal as much with classes like that.
Yeah.
I think if I were in a psych class, I'd be like, all right.
Yeah. Well, I found that out quickly.
Yeah. So we'll read through some of these stories saying vets shouldn't have to pay taxes. You know, and in a lot of ways, that is true. In a lot of areas, we don't. Like, say, if we go down to the local PX within the VA hospital here in Syracuse, that's a tax-free shopping. A lot of people like to buy their TVs and things there, and it's definitely a good idea, you know what I mean? We're in New York State. Its taxes are a little bit on sales tax. Randy's saying, well, we'll start from the top a little bit. We'll read from Randy up. Corinne XO, that's my sister. I first served in Nam. 69 through 71. I'm trying to think of what he means by that first part, because once you read that he served for 3 years, you know, it could be something a little different. Hey, you want to come on over, Bill, or? Yeah. I'm doing it. Yeah. I'll put you on film, but let me put you in the shot. Here, we'll push this one back. We'll adjust a little bit here. Just slide the camera over this way.
Gotta be an engineer to run that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll scoot back a little bit, get ourselves in. There we go. Here, can you
Yep.
just, there we go. All right, and then come on over. There we are. So we'll read these comments here from Randy Huffiness. Like I was saying, this is the YouTube. It's nice that they're able to comment live and, you know, tell us what they have been through and feel that commonality. Or he may be talking about his father. He wrote me letters and sent me pics every week. Tells of him eating dogs and drinking beer. Someone was telling me about that recently. Dogs were a delicacy over there. You gonna admit to that? Did you eat any dog in Vietnam?
Oh no.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, you've heard about it?
Because I wasn't over here on
Right.
ground. I was, you know,
Okay.
I heard stories like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of those stories that's going to go around, definitely, Bill. So Randy's saying he was a security guard. And that's what I think the lady who was talking about her nephews here earlier being Marines, and they're being stationed overseas in the embassies. I think they're security guards, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
would definitely want a Marine to be my security guard.
Yes.
Saying so many stories he told me from there. And then, William Decker saying vets shouldn't have to pay taxes. You know, I think there's a lot of, say, perks for veterans, you know, on Veterans Day and other days. I think it's just a nice way to say thank you. That's what it is. You know,
Yes.
Thank you for your service. I'm not forgetting about it. That's the way I take it, these perks. So.
This facility is phenomenal.
Clear Path for Veterans.
Yeah, I came here about 7 years ago. They just started up. I was standing behind one of these tables, and I was looking out over the view here, which is spectacular. And I saw a young guy with a dog, and he came out from behind the table, and he only had one leg.
Right.
He was a 10th Mountain Vision.
Local.
Yeah.
It hits home, doesn't it?
What do you-
gets me when I've been to the VA hospital and I see an amputee.
They got to live with it. They got to live with that the rest of their lives. I was lucky.
Yeah. No matter what we've been through, we always do count ourselves lucky.
But they seem to have a very positive aspect. They, even though they're one leg, they're happy-go-lucky. Like
Yeah.
they,
This guy was.
They just don't, they don't dwell on it or bring you down, or anything. Hey, they're part of life.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing, that they, because I can't imagine having to go through what they've gone through, plus what they're going through for the rest of, like you said,
For the rest of their lives.
But yet they seem to be so upbeat about it. And then, of course, if they have the privilege of a dog to help them and things, they're all the more. And what is it?
I'm just going to show these people the view here. It's some of the peace that comes.
We're getting ready for a presentation over here shortly. Some organization or something is making a presentation.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd probably also be a good time for us to wrap it up. To say thank you to our audience for joining us today.
Yeah.
And we'll check again to see if we got any other questions. Let's see here. Any final questions? There we go. Make sure we go to live. So can I get your name again?
Lyndon Clark.
Lyndon Clark.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Lyndon.
Yeah. Nice meeting you.
I appreciate your stories. It's definitely a different perspective for myself. My sister was asking some of the memories that we have. I remember lean-to and stand-down. So we built a base in the middle of Afghanistan from nothing. And one of the things we did was a big berm around the outside. And, every night we were on that berm, everybody.
Yeah.
Lean to and stand down. So it's stand down in the evening and then lean to in the morning. You don't want to get up and get on that berm, but you also don't want to not be there if the enemy's coming. So that's one of the things I remember for sure is being on that berm, seeing all the buddies all the way down. We would actually also play with our equipment because we had, say, the night vision goggles and the lasers that were infrared, so the enemy couldn't see it. But we were able to paint the mountainside. We were able to coordinate all of our fire through our goggles, so we could see what the other person down the way is pointing at. So we could all point and put all of our targets on one spot.
Wow.
We would know where other people were firing. But the enemy, they just see dark as long as they don't have night vision goggles. So that's a memory right there.
Yeah. That's amazing. The equipment today makes us look like we're back in the Civil Wars.
Yeah, really. Technology.
So Fred Barron's saying he's back to doing some RC, but I can imagine it. He does some great videos too. Fred Barron RC. Randy says, "My heart goes out to all vets. God bless you all." So that's to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then Fred Barron also says, "Thank you for your service, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And William Decker saying thank you, Lyndon, Bill, and Josh. Thank you to all vets. I'm going to close this out now.
Okay.
I'll take these off of you if you can. Make sure we get a little bit from Bill. Any final thoughts, any words? If you would, just say your name. Yep.
All right. Again, my name is Bill Staley, and I served during Vietnam era. I guess my one overall point is I didn't have to serve in harm's way, and my hat's off to those that did, and that's about it.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, Bill, because I went to Afghanistan and went to some of the most dangerous places there were, but I always had angels on my shoulder, and they were afraid of me. I was lucky enough to not ever have to be in a firefight. You know what I mean? And it's something I don't mind. It's something a lot of soldiers, they want to go to the action. They want to take it to the enemy. They want to be in that fight. So I definitely had those feelings. But at the same time, you look back at it and you say, those guys who did, they really went through it. And they're still going through it. So I'm glad I didn't. I but it's just like part of the duty in some ways.
Yeah.
In some ways, right?
I've got PTSD. I'm 30% disabled.
30% PTSD disabled.
Yeah, and my wife is the one that takes. I don't remember anything when I wake up in the morning.
You don't remember anything when you wake up in the morning?
But she's got black and blue arm.
Oh, well, yeah.
And she would ask me, "Have you got your mouthpiece in?" And
right.
Because you were flopping around last night and you were fighting a war. She says you would sit up in bed and start running that machine gun.
Yeah.
And I was like, she would reach over and just touch me. I never knew anything until the morning time.
Now, is that the 50 cal?
Yeah.
For sure. Luckily, like I said, that's what it is. You've been through some of this stuff. It's going to affect you, and so I'm lucky that
It
in a lot of
sticks
ways.
with you. And you will find out as you get older.
It's quiet here. It just got quiet. So let's read these comments. I don't want to end this stream, but we're going to. Warriors of God is what Randy says. Definitely. All right, so thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We got quite a lot of gentlemen and ladies and family members in here telling their story. We have another thing going on, so this is definitely a good time to end it. Brought the B-17 in here. A lot of people really enjoyed that. So would you guys like to salute out? And I'll end the stream on that. Let's go. All right, everybody.
Okay, yeah, he went